Saluda porque la va a salir de noche. Similar other grade students at our school record video announcements for the entire school every morning. As double day I will invite him to make up. Why? Because it's a total rip-off. Tareas will be echado mañana por la mañana a las 8 para nuestra asamblea de viernes en la educación. Estamos celebrando un día de herencia nativa americana. Vamos a tener cantantes y bateristas nativos que comparten. You should come to channel tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for our 5% budget. We are celebrating Native American Heritage Month. There will be native singers and runners sharing their traditions with us. Este es todo de Charlie. Nos miramos el año nuevo. That's all for channel. We'll see you next year.
Hi, Hollow's in the house with Jackson and Evelyn.
Good evening, North Wasco County School District 21 board members. Thank you for allowing us a few minutes of your precious time to inform you about what's been going on at John Hollow since I last saw you. Notice I said hi. It's Lydia's birthday tonight, and she took the night off to have some fun. She didn't invite me, so she didn't invite me. So here I am.
It's her little sister, Evelyn.
I'm not so little, Jackson. After all, I'm 8 years old.
Alrighty then, go ahead and read the next part of our report, kiddo.
Okie dokie. On Friday, November 3rd, Dry Hollow had its Word of the Month assembly. Miss Lloyd and Miss Wasmiller presented the word. It was gratitude. Several Dry Hollow students read gratitude notes they had written for some of the teachers at Dry Hollow. The teachers loved and appreciated them.
It's always nice to know you're appreciated, right, Evelyn?
Yes.
Do you appreciate me, Evelyn?
Well,
never mind. Pride tickets are pouring in this month. When we reach 1,500 tickets, a couple of our staff members will have to kiss a pig. We can hardly wait to see this happen. We'll tell you about it next month.
Big Sister Lydia.
I don't know if you should call her Big, Evelyn, even if she didn't invite me to her birthday party.
Okay, my sister Lydia was one of the 7 finalists in the Oregon Kid Governor race. All Dry Hollow School is proud of her. I want to tell her tonight what a wonderful sister she is and that I love her very much. I hope I grow up to be just like her. I love you, Lydia.
Our canned food drive started off very slow. This first day student council, we only received 20 cans of food. Since then, we have collected over 5,000 cans of food. We beat last year's record of 3,600 cans. We want to thank the community of the Dows and our Dry Hollow parents and staff for their generous donations.
Gratitude grams have been sold this week by the student council members for only 25 cents. All money collected will go to our Giving Tree project to buy someone a gift. So far, we have made over $30. Jackson and I would like to give each one of you a gratitude gram and show our appreciation to you for all you do.
Did anyone not get one? Last week, we held our Veterans Day Assembly. Miss Corey, our Dry Hollow Wonder Woman, spent hours of her evening time making sure everything was planned out well. You know she deserves a raise. Mrs. Elliott and Miss Tennyson made the halls look awesome. The stars, the silhouettes, and everything else added to the pleasant atmosphere and to our acknowledgement of the sacrifices veterans have made to this country. Student council members handed out flags to the guest visitors. Our guest speaker for the Veterans Day program was our very own Miss Leonardson. Although she wasn't a member of the military, she comes from a military family. Her husband, as well as her children, have been or are currently members of the military.
Last Thursday, Miss Dome had an ELO night. She met with the parents while the students watched a movie and munched on popcorn. As my big sister would say, fun was had by all, whoever all is.
Did you know? You called her big.
Oops.
That's pretty good quoting your sister, Evelyn. Mine only quotes me when I say bad words.
Really?
No, just kidding. Well, that's pretty much the skinny on what's been happening at Dry Hollow. We probably left something out that was important. If we did, we'll bring it up next month. We want to wish each one of you a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Remember to act like a turkey and gobble until you're stuffed.
Thank you for those great reports. So that moves us on to the subcommittee reports. Scholarship Committee, Director Wynn Elledge. No report. Community Outreach Team, Director Aparicio.
No update. We didn't meet this month.
I do not have a report from the Wellness Committee. Equity Committee, is there a report?
We're still working on gathering data, and that's about it till next month.
Director Nelson, we've received your written Wasco County Forest Collaborative report. Would you like to share with us? Thank you. OSBA Legislative Policy Committee, we haven't met as a policy committee since our last board meeting. D21 Education Foundation, Director Nelson. Thank you. The next item on our agenda are staff reports. I did receive a request from Ms. Ketchum to shuffle that to later in the agenda. If she wasn't here, I believe there's a concert at Colonel Wright. So she will join us and we can stick her back in the agenda, but I'll table that for now. That brings us to new business, presentations and reports. Oh, I apologize. Northwest Education Support Professional Representatives. I didn't mean to push you to the end of the agenda. Have a bracelet.
You can hear me. I'm Sonia Schatz. I'm the co-president for the ESP union. We just had a few things, not too much happening. We wanted to thank our bargaining teams on both sides. We were able to finalize our bargaining and get it ratified by our members. So we thank both sides for all their effort and work to get that done. We also celebrated ESP week this week. And so a lot of schools did something special on Wednesday for ESP day. Our staff did as well. Our PTO brought a big cupcake for our staff, and which was kind of nice for the ESPs. And we also are doing our second annual canned food drive, which ends tomorrow. And we will be boxing up the food on Monday in the hopes that we can do one family per school. The hope is that we might get to do two, but our goal is to do one. And we'll find out hopefully at the end of the day tomorrow or Monday what the total was. And I think that's all that's happening.
Thank you for the report and thank you for all of the good work you guys do. Yeah. So now we can pop down to new business, the D21 Educational Foundation update and presentation, Rebecca Thistlewaite.
All right. Well, it's fun to be. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. It's fun to be on this side of the table, not that side of the table. Way less work over here. But I wanted to come here to present on what the Education Foundation has been up to. As you may or may not know, we were founded in, I believe, 97. Don't quote me on that one, but as a foundation whose sole mission is to support the D21 school district. So we are a separate 501c3 in case there's any confusion there, but we still do get our mail at your administrative offices. Thank you for taking that mail. And the foundation kind of was quiet for probably the early 2000s and first part of the 2010s, and then really ramped back up in efforts in 2017. Can you go to the next slide? So we currently have a board of 12 members, including one D21 board representative. John Nelson is our board rep this year. We have a very, very part-time administrative director, which would be me, who helps with a website, social media, fundraising, donor management, and record keeping. And we're current with all our state and federal filings and in good standing, in case any of you guys were wondering. Next slide. As far as fundraising goes, we have about 140 regular donors to our foundation. This year, we received a special $5,000 matching grant from the Dallas Kiwanis Club for a classroom mini grants program. That allowed us to raise about $17,000 total for that program, which was awesome. In 2022, we raised a total of a little over $17,000. And this year, so far, we've raised about a little close to $14,000. And right now we're running our annual holiday annual appeal. So we just sent out letters yesterday with a goal of generating $10,000 for our classroom mini grants and Golden Apple Awards program. And the community is very generous, and we usually always reach our goal as far as that goes. Next slide. So our two signature programs that we have now are the Classroom Mini Grants program, which started in 2017. And then starting in 2020 during COVID, we switched to offering 2 rounds a year of these grants. So now we're running them in the fall and also in the spring, realizing that teachers have needs throughout the year and they want to create different programs at different times of the year. So we have a very simple application. We give teachers about 3-4 weeks to fill it out. And we give out grants of up to $500 each. Those are the size of the mini grants. So since 2020, we've given out over $22,000 in these small grants to teachers and staff for various innovative and creative projects. We also began in 2021 a Golden Apple Awards program. We realized there really wasn't anything in our community. I believe the chamber maybe back in the day used to do a teacher awards program. So I've been told, but we decided we really needed something to honor excellence in our district, not just teachers, but other staff as well. And so we've given out 3 rounds of these to 12 different individuals that are nominated by the community, which is super awesome. We usually get about 60 nominations or 60 different people nominated each year. So there's a lot of great people, and we narrow it down to 4, and they each receive a $500 cash prize. So look for that to come out again this spring and get those nominations in. We like to see nominations from every single school if possible. And then this last year, Columbia Gorge Toyota approached us about doing a car raffle to help school teams, clubs, and other extracurricular groups to raise funds for their out-of-pocket costs. As you guys know on the board are well aware that the teams and the clubs have pretty tiny budgets these days. So a lot of those costs get shifted onto the students and their parents. So any way we can kind of pad their ASB accounts so that they have funding for things like hotel stays when they go to regionals, new equipment, uniforms, etc. That's really the goal of Columbia Gorge Toyota. And they were really pleased with how it ran last year. And so we're doing it again. So hopefully this will be a long-term program. And our ultimate goal is to help the teams avoid having to sell cherries and popcorn and all the things that they struggle to sell every year. So the car raffle raised over $25,000 for our district. And this was a collaboration with Hood River as well, Hood River Education Foundation, and they raised about $45,000, I believe. Our foundation provided the oversight, managed the tickets and online sales, and we received 10% of the proceeds, which covered our licensing costs with the state because it is gambling, and as well as the ticket printing costs and our marketing costs. It was a great collaboration with their education foundation. I learned a lot, and I think that this is going to seed a lot of future opportunities to collaborate. So I'm excited about that. And Toyota's donating another car, a black one this year. And the Dallas Booster Club is really going to help us this year selling tickets for the middle school and high school because they are at a lot of the games already. They're really going to help us with the ticket sales. So I'm excited about that. And then another thing that our organization does that most people don't realize is we provide fiscal sponsorship for a bunch of teeny tiny little organizations in the community that share our mission and values. Those include the Dallas Booster Club, the Dallas Sister City Association, the School Archive Museum, Friends of D21 Music, and the Senior Class Parents Committee. And then we also have a couple sister organizations that have their own 501c3, but they're still on our board. And that includes the Scholarship Committee and the Alumni Association. So our organization really helps those smaller groups with the tax filing and the record keeping and the treasury reports and things that they don't have access to since they're not their own 501c3s. So we help save that overhead for them. In our overall impacts, at least in the last few years, we've gotten over 60 mini grants out into the community. As I mentioned, we've gotten these Golden Apple Awards out, and we've gotten over $25,000 out to school teams and sports, and we hope to double that amount this year. Next slide. This is my last slide. Our future goals are, so we just purchased a membership to an online grant searching platform called Grant Advance. That's good for 5 years. And we're also hoping to allow other folks in the school district to utilize that membership if they want to for grant writing. It's a really, really powerful tool, and we expect to be able to raise lots and lots of money with this tool. So our goal for this first year of membership is to raise $15,000 in general operating support, so we don't have to keep going back to our community over and over again to raise money for our programs. And then we want to start, and this is where the district really comes in, we want to start talking about a capital campaign for something that is high on your priority list. So I just threw out a couple ideas here. But something that requires more significant capital, such as a school-based health center, perhaps, or new playgrounds at the elementaries, or something that we can really help shepherd and inspire in our community, and also write grants for. So we want to double the car raffle ticket sales. We would like to strengthen relationships and collaborations with other like-minded community groups. Better communication with district admin and staff to really know what your priorities are and how we can support you with our little 0.1 FTE staff person, but a great board. And then just build more awareness in the community of our work and build more pride in our district. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, just echoing, thank you for your service and your leadership at the foundation. And it's great to be reminded of all of the quotes, little things that have a huge impact. So thank you. Great. Next under new business is the superintendent's report, Dr. Bernal.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to share with you tonight the goals that I've developed for this year. I included them in your weekend update, so hopefully you had an opportunity to review them. The first goal so these are in addition, of course, to the 8 standards for the superintendency, of which my performance is measured, but these goals are more specific to the day-to-day work of the district. So the first goal is looking at monitoring and supporting our 2023-2025 integrated guidance plan, which includes our LPGTs, which are longitudinal performance growth targets. There are 5 of which we are measured in the integrated guidance plan. 3rd grade reading, 9th grade on track, 4-year graduation rate, 5-year completion, and our regular attenders. And our team, our integrated guidance team, worked with ODE to set our targets. And for each LPGT, we have a baseline target, we have a stretch target, and then we have a gap closing target for our specific focal groups. This particular goal we will be able to measure by our 23-24 OSAS report results, our at-a-glance data, and local performance assessment data. I'll be doing goal setting. I've already done almost completed all of my goal setting with site administrators, and I have asked each of our site administrators to also target certain LPGTs. So we are talking about this data regularly. We are also holding monthly data PLC with our leadership team. We just completed one today where we focused on regular attender data. And then doing a baseline and a trimester 2 and 3 data review at either a scheduled board meeting and or work session with the board. Student achievement data is a top priority focus area, and it is embedded in the district's 23-25 integrated guidance plan. It's also embedded into our 2027 strategic plan, as well as aligned to our 2023 school board goals. And the goal setting with administrators will be completed no later than the end of November 2023. And again, as I stated, we're having monthly data PLCs and data review with the board with those dates to be determined. The second goal I've developed is talking about monitoring and supporting our North Wasco County School District 2027 strategic plan, including our 23-24 identified priorities. As you know, embedded in our strategic plan are 5 priority areas: student experience, teaching and learning, community engagement, staffing, and facilities. And I shared with you what each of the priorities are for year 2 in each of these buckets. And some of the work in year 2 is a roll up of year 1. So some priorities from year 1 have been carried over to year 2. And again, we'll be measuring this through our OSAS results, our at-a-glance data reports, local performance assessment data, and also survey work, including any results analysis that we complete. Again, I've asked principals to write a goal of how they are supporting the work of the strategic plan. Some of the priorities from strategic plan will be embedded in our monthly data PLC and leadership team meetings. Some of this work will also be embedded in our baseline and trimester 2 and 3 data review with the board, and then providing 2027 strategic plan updates to the board. Our year 2 priorities continue to remain a top priority focus area. And again, the work of the strategic plan is also embedded in our 2023-2025 integrated guidance plan, as well as aligned to 2023 board goals. And then again, in terms of timing, I'm completing goal setting with administrators by the end of November. Again, keeping this as a focus through our monthly data PLCs and data review with the board, and then completion of survey work and results analysis. And lastly, goal number 3, I aligned the third goal with the board, which is a common goal, which is to work collaboratively with the board to update and sign our superintendent board operating agreement. It is due for review and a signature of all of us. We have 2 brand new board members, so we want to bring them into the fold of that work. We want to have a signed superintendent board operating agreement, and we will add that to our website. And with administrative support and superintendent collaboration, working with the board to edit and update our current board operating agreement, and providing more detail on topics of board operations that may be covered in policy, as well as topics that may have caused issues for the superintendent and the board over the previous year. And looking to complete and sign and post this agreement publicly no later than March 2024. Are there any questions or clarification around the goals?
Not a question, just a comment. I'm just appreciative that, we spent the time and effort to do the strategic plan and to actually continue to see it, that we're actually following up on it and trying to do those elements is refreshing, because a lot of times those things, as we all know, can just end up on a shelf and you don't look at it again. And we're actually utilizing it on a year-to-year basis. So I just want to say I'm appreciative of that and continued effort on it. So thank you.
Thank you. It was too much work to let it just sit on a shelf.
And I'll echo Director Aparicio and say also, besides the word gratitude, I think the word of the year is alignment. And I love that we're aligning with board goals and superintendent goals and district goals and hopefully student goals. Got to do something. Yeah. Thank you. We're ready for the Chief Financial Officer's report. Cara, ready?
Hello, is it on? Hi. First, I didn't include a financial update report. Two things. One, we're swamped trying to figure out, not trying to figure out, figuring out our payroll and increasing for our 400 plus staff. So we've been consumed with that. But the second thing is last month I did what really impacts the report is when we do our payroll processing. And last month I included the payroll processing in our financial report. This month we're not finished with it because it's an early on board meeting. So that was part of the challenge. So the numbers haven't changed much. So by next month, we'll get the new pay rates and all of that out for our staff, and you'll see those updated numbers. I do have some just updates to give you. We did kick off our CES, our seismic grant this last week. We're working with ZCS. We'll have hopefully out very soon by November. We're looking at putting out a contract, an RFP for the CMGC contract. We're going to do a similar process that we did last time. That worked out really well. That's a $2.5 million project. We are looking at adding, depending on the cost that comes in, adding in some district funded sections of that. And that would include, and I think I've said that, but the fire panel at CES needs to be replaced. And we had hoped to do it last summer, but didn't get that done. Now that we have some people in there doing some work, it'll be some economies of scale for us to add that into that project. And the goal would be to put in a PA system at the same time because they can, funnel both of those in at the same time. Essentially, if people don't know, the Chenoweth project really is going to focus on the section of the building that has the gym and cafeteria. So it's not going to go into the wings with classrooms. Just wasn't any funding to do with that. So that, depending on the timeline and when we can get contractors in there, it may have to be a 1.5-year project, a 1.5 years to complete the project, because the priority would be we have a natural waterfall effect in the building. So we would like to get the roof replaced in the summer before school starts. And we patched the roof many times. They could tell you, facilities people could tell you better than I can. So we'd like to get that done next summer, and the fire alarm project. And then we may not want to disturb the building while we have students in there. It depends on it's really going to depend on, this is a really long story, I guess, but it depends on what the ground shows, whether they need pillars or something. I'm looking at Jose, he might use the right word, but that'll affect how long that project's going to take. Depends what's under the structural building itself. So there's that. We are putting in another application for Colonel Wright Elementary, not the oldest part of the building, but the other section, putting in a seismic grant for that. We had held off on doing anything else with the Dallas High School pending the bond outcome. So we may start looking at putting in another seismic application for the high school, see where we go with that. As of tomorrow, I've been at a variety of conferences and always see the energy people. So I have stalked them for a good 2 years, but we now are getting, Johnson Controls is coming in. They're one of the approved vendors on the list. They're going to go through our buildings tomorrow with some engineers, architects, whoever they are, smarter than I am people, and look at our buildings and see what kind of energy projects we could do. And just to give you, you may already know this, but energy projects, the way that those work is those companies come in and they say, hey, if you do this at this building, it'll save you this much in your energy. And then we take that amount of money that we would have spent on that, let's say it's a utility bill, and we would fund that on a loan payment. So we would hope to capture some efficiency and get through there. We do have some low-hanging fruit that I think would be, I call it low-hanging fruit, that would be really easy to implement, but then you guys will need to act on that because that's going to be a loan payment and the school board obviously has to approve that. So we'll see what that ends up doing. We did apply, the district applied on behalf of, we're working with partners on Chenoweth Middle School and the early learning program. Just FYI, we did put in an application with I want to say it's the EPA, but it's one of the federal agencies for a Brownsfield grant for $500,000 to help with asbestos remediation. I put that in on Friday with the help of the group that is really spearheading that, which still includes now city, because Dan Spots was on that, but and the ESD and all of those, they actually paid for someone to actually write all the contract, write the grant and do all that. So we haven't, other than time spent, we haven't put out any money for that particular project. And I have been clear, we don't have money to put into that right now. So I said, we'll keep working on that. I think that's a general updates. Have still a lot of things going on. Really proud of all the departments. Everybody's working hard. The enrollment, I'll hit really quickly. Hopefully you're able to see it. It's 17 students less than last month. Not incredibly great news. The thing that I guess we'll stay focused on is we're still up from last year. The average enrollment for last year was 2,782. We're currently at 2,834. So we're not seeing a decline year to year like a lot of other districts are. So that's the positive thing. The concerning thing is we being me put in a budget at 2,899 students with all the weighted average. So we'll see come January what that will look like for our state school fund. But that's always a little concerning. It's not incredibly large gap, which would be even more concerning. But we'll continue to watch that and see what that does with our budget. It's really quick. Any questions?
Any questions for Cara? Thank you very much for your report. Next on the agenda, we have the board attorney's report. Jason, do you have anything to report to us? Thank you. That brings us to discussion and action items. The first action item is a request to rehire licensed staff member on a temporary contract until the end of the school year. Dr. Bernal, would you present that?
Thank you. Kirky Stutzman, she's a 5th grade teacher at Chenoweth, will be retiring as of December 31st, 2023. We're requesting that the board rehire her into her same position on a temporary contract until the end of the school year. This would be for continuity purposes and for the students to continue to have their same teacher through the remainder of the school year.
Is there a motion to support that action item?
I move to approve the request to rehire Kirky Stutzman in her current position as a licensed 5th grade teacher located at Chenoweth Elementary on a temporary contract until the end of the school year, June 11th, 2024.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Aparicio. The action item has been moved and seconded by Directors Nelson and Aparicio. I'm going to call a roll call vote. Is there any discussion? Ready to vote. Director Lopez. Director Winelage. Director Nelson.
Aye.
Director Vaught. Director Aparicio. And I vote aye as well. Motion passes. This brings us to the second reading and adoption for school board policies, policy BD/BDA board meetings. We read this last meeting, so I'm not going to read the text in full. Any questions or discussion or a motion to adopt?
I did have one question. Not so much on the language, it's just more what caught my eye as I read through it again is on the final page of mandatory training. That's something we'll do through Vector, or is that something in addition to, I guess?
No, you meet your requirement by completing the training through Safe Schools,
Okay.
which is Vector.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion about policy BD/BDA board meetings?
Vice Chair, I'll make a motion to approve policy BD/BDA as presented.
Thank you, Director Aparicio. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Lopez. I'm going to call a vote unless there's additional discussion. Director Lopez.
Aye.
Director Winelledge, Director Nelson,
Aye.
Director Vogt, Director Aparicio.
Aye.
The Vice Chair votes aye. Motion passes to adopt Board Policy BDBDA. The second one is Board Policy BDC Executive Sessions. We read this one as well last meeting. I'm not going to repeat the language. Any questions or discussion before we open it to adoption motion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I move to adopt policy BDC executive sessions.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Lopez. Any further discussion or questions about adoption of this policy? We'll move to a vote. Director Lopez, Director Winelledge, Director Nelson,
Aye.
Director Vaught, Director Aparicio. The Vice Chair votes aye. The policy is adopted. Board Policy BDC Executive Sessions. This brings us to the public comment section, unless we have our table discussion item. I don't see her. Next time. Any public comments? Thank you. Before we adjourn, I want to express my gratitude to my fellow board members for your hard work this year. We have worked really hard. I appreciate each of you, what you bring to our discussions, and I also appreciate the superintendent and the amazing work that she's done and how she's led us through this past year. I am hopeful and optimistic both for the years to come, and appreciation for our student representatives, who we know how busy you are. We appreciate your time coming to. Anything else for the good of the order? We're adjourned.
Oh, great. Yeah. Oh, actually, guys,